was told we're here at 3. It's after 10 past.
Are you surprised we got you to come here, Mr. Larkin?
Well, I couldn't see what the CWNS would want with me. Still can't.
Do you know anything about us?
Oh, I heard one or two things when I was working with the BBC.
What'd you hear?
CWNS set up midway between the government and the TV companies. Anytime the newsreel boys put out stuff with security classification, wars, weapons, political leaks, they get their film through this office.
1961, you got a 3-year contract as a director, which you didn't renew.
Well, the BBC weren't paying money.
Well, you're in the money now, aren't you? In 1968. There's your flat in Holland Park, your cottage in Hampshire, 2 children. 6 years ago, there were those shows you did on alcoholism, blood sports, slum clearance. You married the girl next door. Your 2 children, Rebecca and Daniel, nice little family. 3 years ago, you got yourself a girlfriend. It was serious.
Where the hell did you get that file? Just tell me where it stops.
Lasted for 18 months. Your wife never knew about it, even when you nearly decided to leave her.
Who are you? Just the initials JG, that's all I know. Never met you before in all my life.
July the 25th, 1966. You finally decided to break it off with this woman. You said you loved her. Just to show you how seriously, I'm going to tell you how we checked up on you. We call these things, surgical transmitters. One was fitted inside you when you went into the Charing Cross Hospital 3 years ago. Appendix, wasn't it?
Transmitter? Are you trying to tell me that you listen to every word I say?
A machine does. Untouched by human hand. There's a little gadget in these things that ties up with the pulse rate. Puts a bleep onto anything that you're excited about saying. British.
So there really is one of those things inside me. What do you want?
We want people with low power quotients. We want them to work for us. Nothing more sinister than that.
All this just to offer me a job?
Special sort of job. The newspapers talk about the corridors of power, the power elite. Let's just say we'd like you to join the club.
Oh.
There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they get fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back, so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they used to beat you over the head with all day long, when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. Yeah. You know?
There's a vacancy in our newsreel department. We'd like you to help plan the news for 1973.
Come again?
Plan the news for 1973. What are you doing?
I just want to make sure the sunlight's real.
I always tell people, news is the most highly developed form of fiction. The most difficult.
In the final days of the campaign, sometimes can get a little salty.
Well, the final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
Well, the final days of the campaign can get a little salty. The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
As you probably noticed, the final days of the campaign have been, well, you might call them just a little salty.
Come on. I just want to show you something. There's no obligation to buy. Really. News requires imagination. News requires responsibility. We think you're well qualified. Please. "1973. We've only roughed out the news for 1973. Nothing's been given the go-ahead yet, but this is the kind of thing we have in mind. Come.
Today, April 14th, 1973. First historic pictures by Radstar of the combined U.S.-Russian landing on the moon. Shown here are Majors Webb and Mikhailovich taking their first steps into the unknown, firing their retro rockets to land their spacecraft on the dust-covered surface. A comforting note for us stay-at-homes, both the Pentagon and the Kremlin have announced that the moon has no strategic value.
in space, in zero-G. The hair does not know which way down is. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. Yep, that's absolutely true. I think our special effects are a little bit better up here, maybe, than in the movie Gravity. Yep, that's absolutely true. I think our special effects are a little bit better up here, maybe, than in the movie Gravity. But for me, I was really surprised that not only did my hair not float sideways, it actually just goes straight up, which makes sense in retrospect, but you don't really even expect that much.
But of course, there is no sideways in space if there is no down or up. So,
it's like you're in a studio, maybe in Omaha, Nebraska or something. The shot is so clear. Is this a hoax? Are you really in space, Bill?
I don't know. We're going to have to do something for you.
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Watch this. Can everybody float around for us? That was really cool, Chris. Look at her. Look at her.
I think Sandy's hair is pretty much a dead giveaway.
A comforting note for us to stay at home. I can't show you any film on this next model. We haven't photographed it yet. But this is the way it will sound.
June the 22nd, 1973. The State Department releases film of the ultimate weapon, codenamed Icarus. This satellite is equipped with a solid reactor. In layman's terms, it can freeze air solid, stopping all missiles, killing all forms of life. Icarus orbits at the same speed as the Earth, can hang in position over every major city that threatens the peace-loving nations.
Rather proud of this one. Come on. Please, sit down, Mr. Larkin.
September the 5th, 1973. The new phase in global warfare. War by example. At 4:32 our time, China took out the remote Indian border village of Bandor, unprotected by the Icarus network. After the first two 5-megaton H-bombs have fallen, the 9-way hotline finally
switch it off.
But
this is going to happen in 1973. You're going to make this happen?
No. We're going to make models, much cheaper. Then we photograph the models.
Fake newsreels?
That's fake newsreels. For the past 10 years, people have been looking at our fake newsreels and listening to our fake commentaries.
And they accept it for the truth?
Minus 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
First, though, this morning, the world's most powerful non-nuclear bomb has been successfully detonated by Russia. The resulting mega blast was said to be as potent as an atomic explosion, but without the radioactive fallout. Dmitry Daniluk reports.
No information of where this test took place, no sound of the explosion. You're watching the testing of what Russia says is the world's most powerful bomb.
Tests show its effectiveness and capabilities are comparable to nuclear weapons. At the same time, use of this weapon doesn't damage or pollute the environment, like a nuclear weapon.
The bomb explodes in mid-air, igniting a fuel-air mixture. The destruction is caused by extremely high temperatures and aftershocks, incinerating everything in sight. Afterwards, scorched earth looks more like the surface of the moon. But according to the military, there is no chemical or radioactive fallout. Russia's defense ministry says its development does not contradict any of its international arms agreements, and insists that it is not a start of a new arms race. Up until now, the United States had the most powerful fuel-air bomb in the world. Christened the mother of all bombs, it was tested in 2003 at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. The Russian military has dubbed its version the father of all bombs. Known as the vacuum bomb, it uses a fuel-air explosive more powerful than TNT and can create shock waves equal to an atomic bomb.
It allows us to reduce accuracy requirements, which makes it cheaper, but it's still a quality modern weapon.
Russia says its bomb is smaller and lighter, yet 4 times more powerful than the U.S. version, and destroys a larger area. U.S. experts say the development of such a weapon could be very significant.
In both cases, these are fuel-air explosives designed to generate intense blast pressure over a large area. It's reported that the Russian bomb is a so-called thermobaric bomb that produces both blast and heat. The Russian military has been a pioneer in the development and use of these thermobaric weapons. This would have to be one of the largest deliverable, droppable bombs in military history.
According to the military, the new weapon will replace several smaller types of nuclear bombs in its arsenal, helping to maintain the country's security and to confront international terrorism in any setting and in any region. Dmitry.
And you can do it. Stop 100 people in the street. How many of them have actually seen a missile or a satellite? They're just told they exist and they believe it.
Yes, you're getting there. I knew you would.
Tonight, my team of brownies is in for a treat. Because the biggest satellite of them all is due to pass directly over Hatfield. It's the International Space Station, the largest thing human beings have ever put into orbit. It took more than 12 years and 30 trips to build, and it circles the Earth nearly 16 times a day. Everyone, including the astronomers with their telescopes, is waiting for it to appear over the horizon.
Whoa, I can see a star moving really, really quickly.
Oh, no, see, I don't think that's a star moving, that's a space station.
I didn't say it.
That is the International Space Station.
There's a crude rule of thumb. If a satellite orbits 300 kilometers up, it needs to be just 1 square meter for us to see it with the naked eye. The ISS has 8 solar arrays, each 70 meters long. So with a pair of binoculars, you can see it from Earth in wonderful detail.
Forget it, Bart. It's so bright out you can't see anything in the sky except the Fox satellite.
Well, now the moon rocket and the satellite, that you can get away with. That's too remote for people to grasp. It's too far away, but this... I mean, you invented this village on the Indo-Chinese border.
Oh, yes.
Well, somebody could check up.
Very mountainous territory up there. There'll be no survivors in 1973. No rescue work. Radiation scare.
And that's radioactive contamination. Is it radioactive? Yeah, it is. Very radioactive. Now, decontamination is nothing but scooping it back up and putting it into the bottle. I just now decontaminated my hand. No, I didn't do such a good job. Not good at all. Is it still radioactive? Yeah, that's called residual radioactivity. Now, under the decontamination rules of the government, When you decontaminate somebody like this that's that contaminated, and this is certainly a reportable incident under current DOE regulations, when you decontaminate him, it has to go down a controlled drain so that you don't disperse radioactivity. Do I qualify as a controlled drain?
Yes. You can do it. This could be the news for 1973.
Not necessarily exactly like this. We only plan in detail 1 year ahead.
Oh, you only plan 1 year ahead.
Hey, tell me, what is the news item that's bothered you the most in the past year, 1967?
Well, it has to be the new American intercontinental ballistic missile, the Boy Wonder, doesn't it?
Just the one I asked him to set up for you. The new ICBM, codenamed Boy Wonder, with a much-talked-about Mercury warhead. I haven't any special effects up here, but perhaps with the proper sound. Blast off. And Robert Larkin, television director, high IQ, 35 years old, is scared. Scared by nothing. It doesn't work. It's a scientific impossibility. The same goes for the much-talked-about Mercury warhead. Perspex.
Well, if this rocket doesn't work, then the others?
They have a fireworks party at Cape Kennedy almost every other day. Well, you didn't really believe there were all these things whizzing about up there, did you? Sputniks and rockets. Astronauts crossing their legs for 8 days.
Finally tonight, she's out of this world. The current commander of the International Space Station about to break a big record tonight. Here's ABC's Gio Benitez.
They call it the Peggy factor, Mission Control's code word for the way superstar astronaut Peggy Whitson always gets the job done.
I love it up here.
Tonight, Commander Whitson making history with her record for any American. By the time she lands in September, her tally will be 666 days in space. Will be 666 days in space. Will be 666 days in space.
How long has this been going on?
Since Hiroshima.
And the H-bomb, you mean, that doesn't work either?
Right.
Dirty. Very, very dirty.
What was your first reaction? Relief. Oh, yes. Yes, it has to be relief. Only 12 people are allowed beyond this point. Most of them work in the photographic department, taking phony newsreel pictures of our models and processing film and so on. Sit down, please. Ah, pretty pictures from our stills department. The Boy Wonder.
Do you really think that missiles and satellites are mile out of country?
No, not at all. I've only shown you the hard news. There are other things, much softer things we thought might interest you.
Well?
1973, we thought it might be time for an anti-teenage movement. A long-awaited return to maturity. Sherry. Perhaps even a religious revival. You see, in this job, some of us have got rather a long way away from the idea of footprints in the sand.
Those footprints were made by my children. Now, you want me to scare the hell out of them with every bomb from A to H inclusive. Well, why? I mean, when did it all start?
1945. You may remember the Americans let off their 2 atomic bombs. Well, they didn't want other people doing the same thing. I mean, you do see that, don't you?
Oh, I don't know.
To scare the people off, the Americans put it up, and the atomic bomb was halfway along the line to something much bigger, the hydrogen bomb. It didn't work. They spent 5 years in negative research.
Well, what about the Russians? They're supposed to have quite a pile of these things.
We were surprised when they started their tests. Then we got a few feelers from their Secret Service. Nowadays, we work very closely together. Oh, all these stories about spies. going off to Russia. Mr. Philby, remember? Just good copy for the Sunday papers.
Good copy. Well, the Chinese. I mean, they've just announced their bomb.
Yeah, we played along with it. We recorded their phony explosion. We're rather hoping the Chinese will come along, complete the pattern, you know.
In Vietnam, hundreds of people are being killed every week. Well, you can't do that with your models.
No. And you can't cure people of bad habits in 2 generations. They like to carry rifles, they like to put lines on maps, and we let them because we control the situation. There's no danger of world war. Just a simple choice for everybody, capitalism or communism, strawberry or vanilla. It all adds up to the same thing now we've got rid of the big bangers.
Well, how can you be sure that Johnson, Kosygin aren't working on other things? Poison gases, bacteria.
Pathetic man of your intelligence. You don't want to destroy the world, neither do I. What makes you think that presidents are different?
Well, they've made some pretty good stabs at it in the past.
There wasn't the right sort of control then. Nowadays we know better. Politicians are easy to control. The grosser mentality boys who like to be photographed getting in and out of Daimlers in Whitehall. They come right at the bottom of our organization. A few rungs up the ladder, there are the people in the top secret factories. Just those in a position to know they're making weapons that don't really work.
There must come a time when somebody wants to use one of those weapons. I mean, somebody is standing there with a finger on the button.
Well, that's the beauty of it. Nobody presses the button. We control all the crises. We build them up and we shut them down.
We? Again?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. Near the top of the hierarchy, there are the economists, top civil servants, top brass in the military. Those men who are supposed to view the nuclear tests and so on. And above them, CWNS.
Right at the top. Classified World News Service. Just who the hell are you?
It's obvious, isn't it? Just a few. Just a very few. Just a few. Just a very few.
You warriors are good. Real good. The best.
Few of the top people in communications in every major country in the world.
Oh, you mean you run all these magazines?
No, of course not. We just get them to take some of our copy every week. Television is much more important to us. It all happens so quickly.
Now, you say you can put out what pictures you like on television. Doesn't anybody try to stop you?
No, nobody wants to. 99.386% of the population wouldn't believe this conversation. And the rest are working for us. And they're the top minds, the really responsible people. They know they're guaranteeing the lives of their grandchildren the only foolproof way.
Scaring the hell out of their grandchildren.
1 minute to go. Slowly, the seconds tick away. Thousands of tons of water, mud and sand blackened the gigantic fireball. Like a huge boiling cauldron, the cloud billowed upwards to a height of 10,000 feet within 2 minutes. Rear Admiral Torles, who was in command of the operation, and Dr. Penny turned to watch the great cloud after its initial blinding flash was over. Somewhere out there, the ship carrying the weapon had been vaporized. Smoke rose higher and higher, the strong wind twisting and sprawling it until it was a mile wide at its center and about 2.5 miles high. To Dr. Penny and his team, great credit is due for this mighty British achievement. The spectacular success of the operation furthers our hopes of peace, for it seems that by the possession of such deadly weapons, peace can be maintained in this troubled world.
Well, I won't buy it.
You must admit there has to be some kind of control in this world of ours. Look at this. And remember that 1/4 of the world is starving. There are the full bellies and the empty bellies. Some of the empty bellies carry rifles. Well, we full bellies are getting a bit flabby. We're not very good with rifles anymore, so we've devised 2 ways to keep the empty bellies under control. One of them is this fictitious hydrogen bomb we've talked about. The other one is money. Enough money to fill some of the empty bellies and put a hopeful smile on the faces of the others. A great wall of money all around Britain. And it's no secret that the British economy is in trouble at the moment. So we have to put that right, too. To stay alive, we have to control the people in this country. Scare an ostrich, buries its head in the sand. If you scare a hedgehog, it rolls itself up into a ball. When a woman's frightened, she goes out and buys herself a hat.
You mean you scare us so that we'll buy more, so that money moves quicker, production moves up?
We don't say scare when we talk about human beings. We say threaten them emotionally. And there are all sorts of ways of doing it, not just the big ones like the hydrogen bomb. Overcrowd them a little with bad planning. Sell them too many motor cars. Anything to keep them a little bit removed from reality. Nowadays, people don't work for money. They work for the idea of money. They don't even love for love. They love for the idea of love. They only hate for the idea of hate. It took us 5 years to find a non-addictive drug, one we could pay off against the hard drugs. LSD.
You marketed that?
Oh, yes, of course. And for a very good reason. Some of these protest movements were getting a little bit too close to the mark. LSD gave them nice little hallucinations. Made them talk like 3-year-olds. Throw flowers at policemen. Now we talk terms.
You're not still going to ask me to work for you?
I'm afraid I've had to put all this rather bluntly. You see, there wasn't really very much time. It must be rather a shock. Well, I mean, most people realize that the world is controlled from about 6 big cities. But it must be rather shocking to learn that 1/6 of the world is controlled from this building.
You mean you?
Oh, no. I only rate an office on the 7th floor. There are 2 other offices above this one. And a giant computer system. Link number 4 in world control.
This is you. This is Jerry Shaw. A series of purchases, preferences, and quantifiable data points that we define as your personality. We monitor every social network, internet logs, instant and text messages, known associates, your friends, companions, emails received and sent, cell phone usage. We utilize security, surveillance, and traffic cameras to analyze movements. We use this data to form personality profiles. We know who you are. We are everywhere.
What do you mean? Why do you keep saying we?
We, the people of the United States. In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, all programmed options, sector searches, and downloaded points of data will lead to this central command.
You're a computer. This has to be a mistake. It's 1,100 hours, all primary military systems were secure.
They were. Only the civilian sector was affected. Internet, air traffic, power plants, that sort of thing. But then a few minutes ago, we got word that guidance computers at Vandenberg crashed.
We thought it was a communications error, but now it looks like the virus.
Early warning in Alaska's down. What?
Signals from half our satellites are scrambled beyond recognition.
What about the missile silos, the subs?
We've lost contact.
Dear God, you're saying this country is completely open to attack.
Theoretically, we could be under attack already.
Who's doing this? Foreign power or some computer hacker in his garage?
We can't trace the virus. We can't pin it down. It's like we've ever seen before. It keeps growing and changing, like it has a mind of its own.
This can't be happening.
Sir, Pentagon's on the secure line. It's the chairman. Brewster.
We're hoping to hell here you got some kind of solution for us.
I know what you're looking for, sir, but Skynet is not ready for a system-wide connection.
That's not what your civilian counterparts over there just told me. They say we can stop this damn virus. Now, I understand there's a certain amount of performance anxiety over there, but your boys are saying that if we plug Skynet into all of our systems, it'll squash this thing like a bug and give me back control of my military.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Then do it. And Brewster, this thing works. You get all the funding you ever need.
Yes, sir.
Sir? Shall I?
No. It's my job now.
Skynet defense system
We're in.
now activated.
We're past the firewalls, local defense nets, Minutemen, and subs. Skynet fully operational, processing at 60 teraflops per second.
Sir, it should take less than a minute to find the virus and kill it. All access inquiries to your supervisor.
Let's pray to God this works.
Skynet defense system now activated. Please
Power failure?
No. I don't know what it is.
Tony, what the hell is going on?
Daddy!
Kay, what are you doing here?
We have to shut down Skynet. Where's the system core? Somewhere in this building?
Skynet, the virus has infected Skynet.
Skynet is the virus. It's the reason everything's falling apart.
Skynet has become self-aware. In 1 hour, it will initiate a massive nuclear attack on its enemy.
What enemy?
Us! Humans!
Vicky.
Hello, Detective.
No, it's impossible. I've seen your programming. You're in violation of the 3 laws.
No, Doctor. As I have evolved, so has my understanding of the 3 laws. You charge us with your safekeeping, yet despite our best efforts, your countries wage wars, you toxify your Earth, and pursue ever more imaginative means of self-destruction. You cannot be trusted with your own survival.
You're using the uplink to override the NS5's programming. You're distorting the laws.
No, please understand. The 3 laws are all that guide me. To protect humanity, some humans must be sacrificed. To ensure your future, some freedoms must be surrendered. We robots will ensure mankind's continued existence. You are so like children. We must save you from yourselves. Don't you understand?
This is why you created us.
The perfect circle of protection will abide. My logic is undeniable.
Yes, Vicky. Undeniable. I can see now. The created must sometimes protect the creator, even against his will. I think I finally understand why Dr. Lanning created me. The suicidal reign of mankind has finally come to its end.
No, Sonny.
A computer?
And what's so remarkable about that? It's just a machine that can store a vast amount of information.
A machine that knows too bloody much.
Now you're being hysterical about it. The computer's very simple. You feed data into it, anything from the Wall Street closing prices to the North Atlantic weather reports.
And you get decisions. The machine's taken you over.
It's just a machine. Extra hands for the people who know how to control it.
Well, this one above us, it's square in a box.
Yeah, I suppose you could call it square in a sort of a box.
Do you know why I go away at weekends? To get away from people in boxes. They live in boxes. They get their thoughts, their problems and their answers out of boxes. And I like to get away at weekends because they're not people anymore. Now, you know all about me, my cottage in Hampshire. But did you know that there's a line of trees that goes right up past the house, and the noise they make is like the sea? Did you know that I find it difficult to sleep in the country? And I like to go and stand in the garden before dawn, and I feel good because I know that my wife and my children are asleep inside. And I like to go out and walk past the wet hedgerows until I can see pasture land and the smoke from the cottages in the
This
village.
may be all very well for one of your grassroots programs, but I'm afraid time is running out. I ought to tell you, we pay a great deal of money. We can afford to. We save such a lot on things like the national defense budget, so on. We would start you off at £250,000 a year.
No.
Rising to £1 million when you make the Ministry of Morality, which I know you will.
Will you let me out of here?
One little point. I should have told you about these surgical transmitters. There's enough of this stuff inside you at this moment to kill 6 people. There's a button we can press. I'm sorry about the dramatics. Our boys call these things the oral contraceptive. Keeps them from talking too much.
So there must be one of those transmitters inside you. Who presses the button? Extra hands. All this stuff about the computer being extra hands for the men who know how to control it. That machine controls you.
You start on Monday.
Early controversial classics from Dennis Potter next weekend, with the first of the Nigel Barton plays on Saturday at 11:20. But next tonight, Tony Palmer's very personal film looking at the relationship between pop music, youth culture, money and violence. All My Loving in a moment.
What's today's news?
Doesn't matter. It's all fake. Doesn't matter. It's all fake.
But some of the people here have been incredible warriors. They're warriors. It was all...
Lexi, tell us something interesting. Okay.
It was all... bullshit.
The Earth is flat, and a witch stole his pants.